the next big challenge that I thought of is the media portrayals. That's an easy one. More and more, it's getting easier and easier, unfortunately. And how Muslims are portrayed in the media. There's sort of this them mentality. The easy example of that is how we could say, we're quick to say, to call something terrorism when it's perpetrated by a black or a brown person. But then we're quick to call this just an isolated incident when it's perpetrated by a white person. And that's the most simple and easy example of how our media it really has this influence over how things are couched, and how we need to combat that thinking a little bit in our classrooms, and kind of taking away that them idea and being more nuanced in how we approach what's happening in the world and thinking about what's happening in our country, and having conversations about those things. My husband and I talk so much about the similarities between these young Muslims who are being drawn into some of these overseas organizations that are not desirable, in my opinion, to the kids in Baltimore who are being drawn into the gang culture and the drug culture. They're both disenfranchised. They both don't see a good, positive future in front of them. They're both looking for a family and a community. They're both looking for a way to feel like they have some power and some self, determination. And that's where they're finding those things. And so you gotta start helping to go beyond them and think about this us as a community of Americans and a world community, and how do we kind of try to not necessarily agree with, but at least try to understand people's life experiences and stories and what's leading them in the various directions that we all go. And that's one of the ways to kind of get at the media. You can take a story, the same story, and look at it from Huffington Post, and looking at it from Fox, and look at it from CNN, and look at it from MSNBC, and the same thing is 4 very different stories, right?
4 different.
4 very different stories. We oversimplify. We tend to try to make things really easy, those 30-second or less sound bites that we're into now, Snapchat, real quick, instead of like actual conversation. And so it's getting past that oversimplification and bringing the context to it, and bringing the history to it, and bringing how things are situated. We'll take excerpts from a religious text out of the context of when was that thing written, or when was that thing revealed, or what was society like at the time that particular, what was happening in that region at that time that thing was revealed or that thing was written, and really understand it outside of what we experience in today's world in 2017 in the United States, right? You can't, that's apples and oranges. You can't compare those things. And so it's really taking the time to make things complex and sticky and messy and be okay with that, because it's not simple and easy, right?